All right, I already pushed live.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I wanted to go in and change the title to Take Two or something, but that's okay. Not on Facebook or YouTube. Okay, wait a minute. We're coming back now. Yeah, I've had the craziest thing. Did you see that show with Amanda Smith?
No.
You need to go back. It was a week ago. She was the one that volunteered and was bringing the food.
Oh.
Do you remember her?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she came on and we met just like this, and I said, "Hello, how you doing?" And she starts talking, and it sounded like Alvin the Chipmunks on steroids. So I'm like, "What's going on?" You know, because it was strange. It never really happened, and it wasn't like a typical drag on the audio.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and it didn't change because normally those things work themselves out. So immediately within like 20 seconds, I heard go live. So I go live and we do this show for 30 minutes. Now, this was after 30 minutes of not being able to get on and all these weird things happening. Anyway, she spoke for 30 minutes and her voice was
weird.
You have to watch it. People, it's actually gotten so many replays on Facebook and YouTube. It's amazing because it's not like a known name, and it's just through energy or word of mouth or energetic word of mouth that people are watching it. But the point is the transmission itself. And here we go with being flipped on our head again. So, let me see if there's okay, we got 29 people in. Okay, we're back. Everybody good? Everything's good.
Okay.
Let's start over. So you were saying that you came on the show last time. You thought you had I'll just summarize it. You had certain belief systems. I wouldn't call them core.
I had certainties.
Certainties. Okay, yeah. Certainties. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like somewhere between confidence and full-blown belief.
I ride that line often, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, this is how we create these new templates. But so you ended up having a come to Jesus meeting with the universe on several different issues, as we all have. And then you land in Soulogy Fest, and then we're landed here today.
Yeah.
That's a lot of ground to be covering in the ascension. They're talking about probably what? A 90-day period. And a 90-day period in 2021.
You haven't heard anything yet. If you really saw what I go through and what I process, it would blow your mind. I was sitting there with you talking at Soulogy Fest, and one of my teeth that I had worked on when I was really early in addiction, I had a root canal, a buildup, a crown put on. It just came right out of my mouth, sitting there talking to you. And you said, Missee, there's a deeper meaning to this. There's a reason why this happened. And I was playing it pretty cool sitting there talking to you, but I was going through all kinds of feelings. Like my safety was shot in that moment. I wanted to run and hide. I felt like I was unworthy of stability, all this stuff.
This is why you're talking to me the night I met you sitting at the kitchen table in the condo.
Oh, yeah.
So that was going through your head while you're talking to me?
That was going through my entire being.
How are you able to have a conversation? We talked for 4 hours.
I'm able to hold a lot.
Yeah.
You know how I learned to do this? I was in training for 20 years. I would take mass amounts of drugs.
Yeah.
And go into the world and pretend to act normal. Do my best to hold it down.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Isn't that the biggest mind fuck of all? When you get high, higher than high, and you go out in public, and you think nobody knows.
Well, there's a lot that can be happening for me now that I'm sober. Processing energy. I can be up all night in sweats and ascension symptoms and just kind of bounce back up and say, I'm going to let this all go. Anyways, I'll just keep moving forward. Because of the withdrawals I've had and the trauma that I've been through and the drug use, it was like training of sorts, I think. Mm-hmm. It's helped me just bounce back really quickly. So the amount of things that I process, there's no way. You don't have a long enough show. I couldn't tell you what I've been through in 90 days, but this is what the point is. And that is we can process things faster.
Mm-hmm.
We can let them go faster, and we can make space faster than ever. Faster than ever. I just face whatever comes up. I sit with it. I let myself feel it. I cry.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a deep soul cry. Some of this is coming from the deepest part of my soul, and I'm in agony, and I'm just like, oh God, and I let myself go as deep as it goes, and I feel it as deep as it goes, and then it opens up and it moves, and I feel better than I've ever felt the next day. I have more space than ever. Yep.
Yeah. You know, that's what happened to me on the night before and morning of the day I left Sedona 3 days early.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. Because after you left, Anita and Delia stayed the night on Monday night, and then Franco and Kimberly came in, which was going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I believe Friday during the day. But anyway, it would have been, so I spent Tuesday night and Wednesday night with the two of them. Anyway, long story short, I wake up on what it will be the last day I'm there. I ended up leaving at 8:00 at night and didn't know it. I woke up feeling, I think I'm leaving. I need to go. Right. And the rest of it was just wailing, crying, wailing. And they're in the condo, just full blown. Todd's back on the streets behind the building.
Exactly.
Process. And I'm like, holy frick. You know, I was just like, and yeah, of course I had the right people there. Very little was said. It was amazing. But these are the types of things that are happening. And this is what I was referring to when we got cut off earlier. And I won't mention any topics, but everything is upside down, literally. Everything is a paradox that is actually the 0 point field. This is amazing what's happening because of the level of space between polarities in so many ways, including our experiences and the possibilities of our reality and how quick it can change.
Exactly. I've seen reality shift right before my very eyes recently. Just right before my eyes. Seeing something that I believe is true or that I believed was true, recognizing it as a lie, and then seeing reality shift right before my eyes. That's trippy. I've never actually seen that done sober before, you know? And it's just fascinating to me. I was just thinking about this morning. Like, I actually have a tattoo on my hand that says, "The struggle is my life." The struggle is my life. I believed in the most innate part of who I was that everything I touched was a struggle, that I was a victim, that I was not worth help, that I was this and that I was that. And my reality reflected that to me. And everything that I did and everything I touched was a struggle. And now for me to be aware enough to clean up the landscape of my mind to the best that I know how today. And I leave room for more understanding around that universe. And as I clean that up, for reality to shift.
Yeah.
Right there, right before our eyes. And we can make space now more than ever by simply sitting with the feelings that come up.
Yeah, that's true. And those two main points you're talking about is taken on a whole new life in the last, we're talking 90 days. As time flies in this transition we call ascension. I don't even know what I would even define it as 90 days, but for the sake of information. And one is feeling things.
Yeah.
It's become more and more obvious by force or flow that the best thing to do is to sit with whatever it is as it comes, And then, like you were talking about earlier before we got cut off, that's when you enter the space of you don't know what's going to happen, but whatever it is something far better than you could imagine. It's getting into that space of accepting that you don't know anything. And I'm watching this happen. I'm watching what were once pillars, and I'm talking people, groups, topics, and I'm talking about in the light worker field that were pillars in the transition that are falling, boom, and being removed as any part of the initiators or originators' identity. And anyone that picked up on that identity, anyone that picked it up as a template and said, oh, this is the way to go. I'm watching all these things be disassembled. And of course, at the same time, to your point about the space coming in simultaneously, when you do what you describe on the individual level, the higher epiphanies and the revelations and occurrences and the things that the glitches, like you're talking about, the changing of reality right before your eyes.
Yep.
I mean, this in the last few weeks, certainly, God, it feels like it's been 2 years, but we're talking about 30 days ago, you and I were sitting down talking for 4 hours. I just realized that. I thought it was 2 months ago.
No.
But my point is, look how much it's changed. I mean, this is crazy. In the last 30 days? Do you feel that?
It will only increase. It will only increase from here because the amount of data that we are receiving through light and through information on this planet will only increase. But this is the good news. The good news is that we no longer need to struggle.
Yeah.
We no longer need to struggle through and suffer through agreements that we made before coming into this earth to fulfill these contracts. We now can alchemize these situations. And my biggest gift in alchemy is it's a simple process. It's just to face whatever comes up and to sit with it and to hold space for myself, to be with that feeling, to feel it as deep as it goes, to hold space for myself in that moment, to not rush, to create internal safety for it to fully have its process. That's the biggest work, because the inner child needs to feel safe enough for this to fully happen and alchemize in that moment.
Yeah.
So all these things will come up. You need to pay your bills. You need to get back to work, Todd. You need to do another show. You know, you have to call your wife, Todd. All this stuff comes in. Todd this, Todd that.
Yeah.
But if you can hold the space, a neutral space in that moment, feel that feeling as deep as it goes, and wail and cry and go through it, there's an opening that will occur. It might not happen in an hour. It might not happen in a day. But the more you practice this, for me, it takes about a day, maybe 2. Universe, I'm open to that changing, and I do not know everything on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after that, speaking to the thing.
Yeah.
Speak to the thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it changes the whole pattern. And it never, it doesn't have to show up again.
Well, you know, what's okay. So there's 3 things you brought up, and I want you to keep going because you're onto something. Of course, going back to the first thing that you said, and I think this is the most important thing to restate, because I hadn't heard it put like this. Because everything that's being presented to us, even if it's through words, is really the energy. Right. It's not the process, or it's not the literal aspect of it. It's the energetic code coming at you from the projector, which in this case is you. And you said, let me just, and you can change it or whatever, but as I understood it, as I received it, you said, we have reached a point now where our contracts and oaths and whatever's agreements, okay, that were basically a result of the agreements that we made before we stepped into this realm.
Yep.
In other words, we've reached this point now where the template that we came in with, which has never been about predetermination, predestination, right? Like you can't change anything. It's never been that. It's been, here's a template for you to follow. And because it's free will and because it's a present moment kind of experience and the way this is going to happen, we don't know exactly how this is going to go, but here's a general trajectory of your life path before you. Now we've reached a point where there's been an equilibrium that's occurred, and we have all that information that we came in with and the experience that we've had, and now we're being asked to go, here's all your templates, here's all your toys. Your geniuses and inventors and artists and craftsmen, go out and remix them. Go out and build bigger playgrounds. And this is energetically what I'm feeling you're talking about.
It is. This is alchemy. And this is the cool thing, is that by me doing my unique art through the agreements that I came here to fulfill, my own unique expression of this, with people showing up and simply listening to this conversation, with people showing up and witnessing my writing and my art, my alchemy through what I've transmuted through darkness and through misunderstandings, that I came in here to transmute and to transcend. They no longer need to suffer to fulfill those contracts within themselves. They can get the codes from my art, my alchemy, and my expression. This is where we are now. And that's incredible. And that's amazing.
It's like when you're exposed to it, you, at a minimum, have access to be able to align with it. And there may be a kind of an automatic alignment. I don't know. But the other thing too, the second thing that you said, the second thing of the three things that I got out of what you said was about this struggle thing. I remember 8, 9, 10 years ago, whatever, when I was on the streets and having a conversation with the consciousness of Jesus, Yeshua, which was the big guide at the time, came in and said one day, 105 degrees in the middle of the day in Houston, Texas, in the middle of summer, humid as hell, carrying all my stuff, right? You don't have to struggle anymore. You don't have to struggle anymore. You don't. In other words, what he was saying is, you guys don't have to follow my template of sacrifice, right? And I thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And kind of chased that for a long time, but realized that we had this impression that love was about how much you were willing to give up. I'm going to go to war and fight for my family, my country. I'm going to, look, 1/3 of crimes are crimes of passion. So I'm going to do this in the name of love. And what did we do? We destroyed ourselves. So that whole thing about, sacrifice and suffering, I'm like you. We talked about it. Michael Mejia. There's so much that came out of the darkness.
God.
But you know what? I'm sorry. The real light worker, which is all of us really, is a fucking shadow eater. It's a darkness feeder. And when you do that, you're actually creating more light. But you know what? In the literal humanesque part of this journey, I don't need that shit anymore. We've alchemized enough to be able to change our perception to see things for what they really are and the value of them. And I think what you do and what I hope Soulogy does is provides a platform for the expressions to come out of those who have been bottom feeders.
Yes.
Okay. So, and what happens is the observer, the conscious creator, okay, the quantum creator observes that type of energy, however it comes. And where the alchemization starts, in my opinion, is when they go, oh my God, I'm not the only one. It happened to her. It happened to him. And or even, oh my God, that happened to them. Like I would never do that, but oh, wait a minute, I did this. I mean, there's something about that point of that intersection where the human goes, it's okay what I've done. You know what I mean? It's just like, look at her, look what she can do, and look where she's been. I mean, there's so many ways it comes across, but yeah, it's the real stuff now. It's not the spaceships and nothing against that, all the aspects that visit us. It's about the human. It's about this.
I have so much to say around this.
Go for it.
This is like my passion, and it just oozes from me. And I feel like this is how it is for people who come in with deep suffering contracts, like myself and like yourself, Todd. And me and you have so much in common within the codex that we carry. We do. We came in here to suffer big and to transmute that, and then to share wisdom so that others can just pick up codes from our voice and from simple conversation. This is what's coming up for me to share in this moment. The most beautiful thing that I've come to realize and understand as of late is that these children who are coming in now do not carry these suffering contracts. They do not carry this codex of shadow transmutation. There is no longer that being brought into the earth. So now it becomes a matter of cleaning up what's already here. And that's it.
Yeah.
These children are bringing in light, pure celestial beings are coming into this planet now. And for us to clean up the space for them to build the world that they came in to build, and that they have the templates to create innately, they have the wisdom already. They're bringing in that wisdom. So it becomes a matter of us cleaning our internal world up, our own contracts, cleaning those up. That's what I'm here to do. That's what I'm here to embody, and that's what I'm here to help others embody. And we can do that through alchemy. So one way that I've been clearing entities lately, which is a much different approach than I think most people, when they hear this, they might be surprised by it. But it comes from this codex of the warrior meets the divine mother. It is masculine and it is feminine. And I just barely finished working with scarcity. For 21 days, I did this Light of God protocol around scarcity. And I would call him in every day. And the way I would get him to come out and to be seen is I would treat him almost like a mother would to their little child that had been hiding in the attic for a day and was in deep trouble. Everyone was upset. But I wouldn't say like, get out here. Rah. I was like, come on out. Come on out. You're busted. Let's go. And I would still run this energy of, I will rip your head off if I need to, but I did not lead with that. It was very subtle, playing in the back. My warrior energy was all the way back. It was still there, but the divine mother came forward and she was like, come on out. By day 10 of working with this entity, he was happy to see me, because I would greet him with this and I would say, look at what a good job you're doing. You did such a great job. You agreed to come into this life with me, scarcity. And I appreciate you so much for making that agreement. You did a good job.
Yeah.
You did an amazing job, because this is a zero-dimensional being. It is like a child consciousness. And when I treated him like that, and I gave him props for what he came in to do, because he's on a mission as well. And he did a good job. And when I came from that space, he was more than happy to work with me. He was excited to see me. He would show up and be completely visible. And I released him.
Yeah.
So it's this neutral love, unconditional love that creates the alchemy. It's no longer this war and this duality and this fighting.
Yeah.
It's this whole other way of doing it. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know, and I don't care if it's released, if it's owned. I guess in the paradox, it's both. But what I can relate to, and actually happened to me the night before I left came home from Sedona, I sat on the land with 3 spirits that live in me.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of fun over the years. And but we had an organic gathering. And to my point earlier about templates, people could call them programs, belief systems, habits, behaviors, patterns, whatever. No matter what it is, no matter what our perception of it is, they don't always last forever. We're moving higher and higher and higher in frequency. That's affecting every single thing about us.
Yep.
It's affecting the way we learn. It's affecting our ability to create in purity. It's everything. And it's new. And as the humans dying, the humans thriving. It's like, it's both. It's, it's both. I just feel we've suffered enough. We've judged ourselves enough. We've projected enough. We've learned enough that it doesn't surprise me that there's many, many people that are basically in solitude, in isolation, because this is full-blown integration. It's full-blown integration. And you look at Jason's forecast prior to that period in May, Franco's, I could name some other people. The gates are wide open now. They're wide open to create and reinvent and it's amazing. It's amazing. But it's also a lot of information to adjust to how open the playing field is now. And I think that it would be part of the integration that's occurring, part of the solitude.
I feel like with so much light coming onto the planet, a lot of these entities that are attached to these contracts are acting out like children, and people's issues are coming straight up. They're in their face more than ever, and it will be this way for some time, and myself included. I don't feel like we ever get to the end of this clearing, or we will no longer be here on Earth. I'm working with multi-dimensional cellular memory of past lives that show up through MTVO coursework that I do. I'm basically asking to be highlighted at that level. And I could have cleared the entity of scarcity around this life, but he might show back up as I continue to work cellular memory. So I don't pretend to know everything or how this works, but I do know that for me, to start from ending contracts, completing contracts and agreements through suffering, moving to service, and now through alchemy, it is a journey of a lifetime. And we all have the ability to do this simply by creating and speaking to. There's one other thing I feel like carrying around this, and that is I am being asked now to speak to things on a level that I'm fearful around.
Really? Like, can you give an example?
Yeah, I have a perfect example for this. So I understand on a deep level that addiction is not something that cannot be healed. Addiction can be cleared from the DNA. Addiction is an entity that I agreed to come into this life with. It's part of my ancestral curse. It's part of my DNA. It's part of who I am as this human form. And I agreed to come in with this codex along with all of my siblings, my dad, his dad, this whole line of deep addiction. Because I knew that I would go through the deepest, darkest parts of it and be able to transmute that and clear that. We can do that now because of the light that's showing up on the earth. We can do that now because of the amount of healing we have access to now more than ever. In thousands of years, we did not have access to this. People couldn't heal this 50 years ago the way we can now. So it's easy for me to speak to this on Soulogy in a spiritual community where people are hip to the ascension. But do I have the nerve to speak to this to people who really need this message, who call themselves an addict, who show up every day and reiterate their story? Am I brave enough to actually speak to this to people who need it and be vilified for my ideas and for that? Because there's still memory within my own cells of being outed from the tribe, of being ostracized. What I'm saying is blasphemy to a lot of people. It's blasphemy. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I struggle with a lot of the words we use, especially now, and the words that come out of my mouth, because of how much they perpetuate the pre-existing frequencies that have conditioned that are products of the program that have led to our conditioning. So I try to be careful, but I'm with you. I think I understand this. To be able to sit down, if I just picture this in my head, with a group, with a room of what society's labeled as addicts, and the mentality of that lifestyle. I was revisited within the last couple of weeks, the depths of my addiction, if we're going to use that word, and I don't feel that's the right word. But I went to the moments when I did things many times, many times, that would absolutely blow people away. And you know what I'm talking about. You know the depths that I'm talking about, at least the one we have memory of, right? And we sat in a different light. And what I'm saying is, there is a level of awareness and understanding and power that that potentially in a group of addicts being conversed with, by someone like yourself, there is the potential of transformation when they begin to understand that another word for addict is fucking warrior. It is an initiation.
Exactly.
It is a path, and there are paths both pious and paths that are more like the road we took. You know what I mean? So everything is the same thing. Everything is there for us to alchemize, to create magic with, to birth new creations. I am hesitant to speak about things to the degree that I spoke with you that night. Not because I'm afraid, because I'm not.
I know.
But if I open this can of experience and begin to share to that degree, yeah, there's going to be people going, "You're out of your fucking mind. You did what?" And you know what? You're damn right I did. Don't, because I am not who I was. I am who I am. So please look at me as I will look at you, not for what you were or what I thought you were, But for what you are and what stands before me now, we want to talk about judgment.
Mm-hmm.
We want to talk about checking ourselves on, are we being in judgment or we're discerning? Bullshit. Bullshit. See me for who I am. Have enough faith in me that you have in yourself. You're not the same person you were 30 days ago, and I know I'm not. So everything is part of a real fairy tale, a real one. And it's just, you know, it's so easy to get into these cliches because it doesn't do it justice, but seeing things for what they are, changing so rapidly. And to me, one of the biggest, most giant tools is for me to pull people up and say, I don't like that person. I don't like something about, they make me feel weird. It's not about them. It's about me.
Exactly.
Let me go find that shadow. Let me eat it, you know? But yeah, I would not change. I would not change the path I took.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and I would say we're all going to get to that point and look at our lives and go, wow. Last thing, I see a change in, I see a change in the common usage of the term mirror. We've looked at what are our mirrors, especially those closest to us, and that only makes sense, to see what we thought we were not, to eventually see what we haven't seen in ourselves. And now we're starting to see the divinity that we are in our mirrors, which means we've done enough work. You know what I mean? We've done enough work. And like you said, it never stops, but we've done enough work to be able to look at another and go, wow, she's amazing. And I'm her friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be attracting, I'm attracting what I am. And wow, look at that. I'm seeing more of that in the last 30 days, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder we talked for 4 hours.
I feel like the coolest things for me to recognize looking back on my journey is how relapsing at nearly a year sober, which that first year is so difficult. You know, you're counting every day. And to relapse right before I hit the finish line there. And I just lost my mind so far out, Todd. I mean, the entities had a heyday with me because I had more impact at that time.
Yeah.
They had more to work with than when I was completely just like bottomed out. I wasn't bottomed out. I had some light in me then.
Yeah.
So they came in and just had a heyday with me. But that is the biggest gift that I've been given. Because I recognize that there are people on this planet now who are going to be in that same place that I was then. Meaning they're going to be in a place thinking and feeling deep in their soul, I cannot keep doing this. I cannot keep calling myself an addict and reiterating this story to myself.
Yeah.
This is not going to work for me anymore. And they're going to know at the core of their being that they cannot stay there. And yet, I had no pioneer to show me the way. No path had been paved that I knew of that showed me how to make that jump. And I relapsed and I died for the 5th time on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel this innate responsibility to speak to this, and not just on platforms where people are accepting of it, but to people who really need to hear the message and who will be maybe even triggered by it at first. Am I willing to be vilified? Am I willing to say the thing? Am I willing to be the bad guy? Because when people hear the truth, and it conflicts with their internal belief that they've been programmed with, at first it pisses them off and it creates a dissonance in their mind. Am I willing to hold my own while that surely will happen? And that's what I'm being asked to do. I'm being asked to step into a higher level of integrity, a higher level of truth. And I've got to tell you, Todd, when my spirit leads me to do something, I may get knocked out for a minute. I may go back and forth, but at the end of the day, I will always, always step into the truth and I will do it. Whew.
That's because it's you. It's you. That's you. I am soul. That's you. That's another thing too. Like this external aspect of us is closer and closer. You can call it embodying or merging, physical, non-physical, whatever, but that you're seeing people are being that, right? Back to what you said though. Imagine, because we're talking energetic levels here. An addiction could be meth, it could be sex, it could be so many things, and it could be all of them wrapped into one.
Right.
So just to give people context, imagine the things that you would do, the things that would not be beyond you to get food, to get water. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Missee Sue, but many, many, many times, what I would say was probably, I don't know, a couple years maybe, I compromised myself without thought for myself to obtain the sustenance that I wanted, which was chemically related. And so, you know, how many things do we do and turn a blind eye to ourselves, right? These are the deepest points of, what would the word be? The deepest points of really forgetting, I think, forgetting the connectivity, forgetting what we are, where we just absolutely stepped away from ourselves. So what does that translate to and what's happening? You know, in essence, somebody who's totally ignored themselves to a point of negligence begins to discover themselves. And there is a fervor. So, you know, I've been thinking more than once in the last 30 days, I wonder how much of my story I'm actually going to tell. And I may have said it the first night to you, talking to you 30 days ago. So that's, again, this is not about a story. It's the energy of what's bubbling up to the top of this delicious sea of soul soup.
I feel like it's important just to speak to the necessity of one calling themselves an addict at first. I mean, I saw somebody in the comments mention being an addict is just an excuse for being a victim. I'm not sure, I didn't say that verbatim, but that's the idea of what they commented, and I appreciate that perspective. But it's also really important that we keep an open heart and compassion to people who are really deep in the 3D games. I'm somebody who is from the chaos timeline. I'm from a whole other timeline. I'm from chaos and destruction and darkness. The dark timeline is where I spend a lot of my time in very chaotic situations. And I never thought it would end. So I have a unique perspective on that. For one to come out of that into fourth dimensional consciousness. This is just consciousness. Labeling themselves is a very important part of that process.
Yep.
You need to put a label on it so they have a box to work with.
Yep.
Here, work with this. Okay, great. I'm an addict. I have a disease. This is inherited. It's not my fault. Great. I can own that. Now I can do step work or whatever, trauma reprogramming, whatever it is, within that box. Wonderful. It's beautiful. But we're now in a world where fifth dimensional consciousness is alive and well and thriving. And so there's a process of needing to drop all of the labels, of needing to remove not only just the story you tell, but the internal programming of that story, the belief systems of the memories that are programmed within your being. There's a deeper level of work to this thing than just calling yourself an addict and showing up to meetings every week.
Mm-hmm.
We can actually heal this. And we do that by pretty much simply living day to day, one step at a time, in the vibration of, I have what it takes to heal this. It's
Right.
really intention, and then walking forward. And we can do that through alchemy. And again, just by me speaking this, it creates the opportunity for people to learn and not have to die, not have to, kick up all of this story and these contracts. They can close out these contracts of addiction through my alchemy and through my wisdom and through your wisdom and through your alchemy. And everybody watching here, through your own struggle and your own wisdom juice from your own darkness, we can share. Michael Mejia is one of the most amazing alchemists I've ever seen. Just by his presence alone. Gosh, when I first saw him for the first time, I was like, what? You exist? Because I can see the contracts he came in with, what he agreed to go through, the pain that he's gone through, and the pure wisdom that just radiates from his being, from his ability to simply sit with it and alchemize it. And this is where we are today,
Yeah. Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. I agree. I don't have a whole lot of comments. I mean, one thing that I'm understanding too is that we do have these mirrors. They're getting louder, and we're accepting them as ourselves, so to speak. Pedestals are dropping. Pedestals are dropping, and pedestals have two potential vantage points. Let's just remember that we put people on pedestals, but we also put them in the naughty corner. So anytime there's a pedestal, either we're putting somebody on or putting ourselves on it, right? But these things are crumbling, and part of the gift of that is when we start to get into cross these thresholds where we have a field of experience and really the ingredients that we use for new creations, and things are starting to become more and more unified, then you start to discover the little morsels of gold in those energies that we would call people, for instance, that you didn't see before because you were too up your own ass. You know what I mean? So this is something I saw at Soulogy Fest, where there was kind of and I'm not going to say it was a perfection, but there was a field of potential shown to all of us where there was more of an equilibrium. And whether you were, J.J. Hertak, who downloaded Keys of Enoch in 1973, or you were the young band that came in the first night and said, can we play? Three young people that are just blow everybody away with this incredible original music. Everybody was, kind of like in a meeting place, in a central point of, and so what happens is you start to see things that you didn't see before because you had a different perspective about someone or something. And the other thing I would say is that I will be the first person to tell you and anyone else. The few things that I know, they're very few. I am soul. I am soul. We are one. We're all unique, have our own soul signature, and there's a perfect order of the universe. That's about it. And in terms of this realm and what we are and how we can be viewed and explained, I am fucking chaos. And I will continue to be chaos because in this realm up to this point, chaos has been normal. They don't know what chaos is. We brought the chaos. In this realm, chaos was seen as normal. The chaos that we're bringing is the real normal. It's equality and it's liberation and sovereignty and freedom and love and the trajectory of moving into higher dimensions. Not dimension. It's not just 5D. It's multiple dimensions. So I'm not a rebel, but I think we've reached a point now where more and more every day, we're going to have choices to be made on behalf of ourselves and our brothers and sisters. And those choices are going to be, no, I'm not getting my driver's license. No, I'm not going to get a passport. No, I'm not going to follow these lawless laws. And if you want to put me in prison or kill me, I'm soul. And to a point where we start to walk the talk. And man, when people start doing that, look what happened in London this weekend. 1 million people at Hyde Park. What the hell? Australia, they got 30 people with those cases, 25 million in the whole country. And they're going down, they're doubling down on what they can put out there that can be accepted. That's chaos. But the real chaos, what's chaotic to this realm is the aligned human sovereign soul. And now they're bonding together like peanut butter and jelly. So this is going to be real interesting. It really, really is. I'm more focused and seeking and trying to follow the things that I feel are within our potential in the present and the immediate future, and that is teleportation. And these are examples. Telekinesis, full-blown telepathy, dimensional traveling in a conscious state, than I am with the things that are being, the overlays that are being offered, the suggestive programming that's being offered in any capacity. This is about us. If I can do it, you can do it. If you can do it, I can do it. So let's do it.
I feel like the pedestal is really being dissolved in a lot of different dynamics. One being the facilitator and the client. The client facilitator role is completely different in this new world. It's more of a co-creation, a collaboration of two people. One person holding space for the other person to come in and together working things out, allowing for things to come up and highlight both and to transmute together. It's like the hierarchy of the person on the pedestal. So many people are being dethroned, like you mentioned earlier. People being dethroned. A lot of things that cannot hold weight are being ripped out of reality.
Yeah.
The whole dynamic system across the board is changing.
Yeah. And that's, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because it's very important in my mind with what I've observed in almost 3,000 shows and in this community. As every part of our journey, all aspects evolve. They evolve because we're expanding and converging. So in terms of energy practitionerships, what we called healing sessions, I know that you have that you've been doing that. And I also know that you are a student of that. So you're not just saying, here's my download, here's what I got, let me give it to you. You're saying, I want to go out and find out more, like zero pointing, right?
Okay.
So and I know you've just recently, because we talked privately, expanded a bit on what you're doing and what you're offering. So could you kind of like tell us what you're up to?
Sure.
And at the same time, kind of continue with this that you were speaking about in regard to this subject, because I'd love to hear what you're doing and I'd love to hear where you're at with it.
For the last 2.5 years, I've offered one-off sessions I just use tarot cards as a tool for me to really look into people's energy. And as my skills have expanded through the more that I clear and the more that I heal, my skills have expanded. I love how you've mentioned that I'm still a student. I will always be a student.
Yeah.
I feel like the best facilitators are the ones who can hold that space of unconditional love and non-judgment and support, while also being teachable and willing themselves. They're not the experts. They're not. I'm not an expert. I'm not somebody who puts myself on a pedestal like, for you to heal, you need to come to me. I have some answer that you cannot access yourself. I have this modality that you need to heal. You cannot do this without me.
Right, right.
No longer holding weight.
Yeah.
And so the most beautiful thing that has come through me, it's a transmission that's come through me. This is not Missee Sue, the personality, who has come up with this. This is my divinity, that warrior, divine mother, energetic that has come through. And it's a 3-month container that I've created called Sacred Alchemy, one-on-one mentorship. And it's holding that space for people to really come in. And instead of having these one-off sessions where I can see all of these things for them, and then they're just off. They're off to do their own work if they do or if they don't. It's more of a container of time where I can hold that in devotion with them, and in a co-creation, look at the contracts that are coming up for them now, and how can we alchemize and clear those together through support. Because we can, and we can clear these faster and with more grace and ease than ever, with just my experience of working with entities and being an alchemist. That's in my codex. And the gifts that you have as the collaborator. Together, as I hold space for this, magic can happen within those 3 months.
Far out.
This is a new concept.
Far out. Where do people find out about this? On your Facebook page or where?
Yeah, there is an application process. This is not something that's for everybody. There's a certain level of willingness to change and a ownership that I'm really looking for someone to come into this. The integrity of the container is more important to me than money or getting clients. And that's the truth. You can hear that if you're listening. So there's a simple application process of answering some questions to get onto a call for a conversation around this.
Right on.
I had this gentleman, I had a conversation with him recently, and I'm sure he won't mind me sharing this. I'm not going to mention who it was, but it was this gentleman who I've worked with on these one-off sessions multiple times. And what he wanted to work on was sexual desire, relationships with women. Now, when I first read that in his questionnaire, in his process, a lot was brought up for me. a lot was highlighted for me. Like, am I the person to help him with this? I have been someone with sexual trauma myself. Can I hold this neutral space? And the very design of how I've created this container is for me to be highlighted and for me to have to step into a higher level of saying the thing, of communication, and of collaboration too.
Yeah.
So in having this conversation, it actually makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful alchemical experience for them, for me, and for both of us. Yeah.
Far out. That's what it's all about. I wanted to, so that's, or did you tell us, would that get in touch with you on Facebook or do you?
I'll drop the link into the comments and you can
I can do it right now. I can put it on all 10 platforms. What's the name of the link? Is it on your Facebook page or your website?
It's on my Facebook page.
Okay, I'm just going to put Facebook
intro.
Okay.
Check her Facebook page. Page PAGE for the link for the app. Boom. Okay, so I want to introduce a new Soulogy Award. I just came up with this during the show. And Missee Sue, my friend, is going to be the first recipient of the universal balls, the etheric balls. This is what it takes. Did you see it?
Oh, I saw it, but
okay. And I'm obviously making a joke, but there's when you talk about the things that you've talked about, and part of that being what you are setting your sights on. You talked about, am I willing to be vilified? Am I willing to be, that's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is I don't think as time goes on, we've all ordered from the menu to come here. And the biggest part of that has been for our own soul growth. And there's so much to be said on this type of subject, but there is a certain level, even given our uniqueness, our unique soul signature, there is a certain level of uniformity. That's not a bad word. It's the essence of self, other, and the collective. It's the Trinity energy. And so what I'm trying to say is that go for it. Do it. Okay. Because I'm feeling it too. I don't know what it looks like, but I know one thing. Everyone will know everything about everyone. If you want to look at it from a human explanation, that's not frightening. That's freeing. When you can open up your book of life and allow everyone to see it, it may take big etheric balls to do it. Okay. But we've got them. And in the payoff, see, I look at the human first. And the reason I do that is because we've come here for the human part of us, however this works. So if what I'm looking at doing in any situation, I look at the payoff for the human Todd, the human Morgan, the human Soulogy people, the human world, like, and I can think of nothing more. I can't even think of the word that would be more impactful and exciting and crazy and mysterious and unknown than to share our lives to the nth degree, to the dirty, grimy, gritty stuff from the human perspective, because this is gold. The war stories, from the days of addiction, the things that I did are on a personal level, and I'm just saying this for context, have taken on a new light. I've made peace with those that I participated with.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken my soul aspects back and given them theirs. I've been able to look at situations that were for years created a PTSD, Tourette syndrome kind of reaction. I can now look at these in a greater light, a pure light, a golden light. It's time to stop running away from ourselves. This is the key to me. It's looking at the human now as the greatest asset this fucking universe has ever had to this moment, rather than this deep liability. So because of people like you, I know we're getting it done. We're doing it. So thank you. I loved talking to you for 4 hours in the condo when we both couldn't keep our eyes open.
Mm-hmm.
And come together once, you come together forever. And so you're my sister. I appreciate you. Everyone loves you. You're a warrior, warrioress. Keep going. And I look forward to collaborate with you over and over again.
I love you, my friend.
Love you too. Do you have any parting words? I mean, you just want to just kind of reiterate the new thing that you came out with. Just kind of go over it one more time.
Yeah. Sacred Alchemy, one-on-one mentorship. If it's calling you, this is only something that you're going to be able to feel in your soul. This isn't me looking for clients or trying to enroll people. It's holding the space in faith that those who are ready to do the work will resonate with it and will come forward. And that's the new way of business in 5D, is simply holding the space and having faith that those who are willing and ready will show up. And so this is just me speaking to that.
Right on. Right on.
Love.
So I'll see you when I see you.
Mm-hmm.
And let's get together again.
I love you, Todd.
Love you too. We'll be back in 25 minutes with Michelle Anderson of what's the name of her program? I can't remember. Well, look on the ad. Okay, I'll see you later.
Bye.
Peace out.